If you want to say something, you don't want anybody to hear what you're saying, press the bar. And the light is supposed to go out.
I don't think the light is on.
Oh, the light is on. Are we going to use these tonight?
They're on. Bear with me.
Okay.
All this needs is tie in reference to the speakers that are existing.
Yes.
Yes. It's not tied in to the TV and camera like it used to be. So hopefully, that's,
I don't think, well,
unless you get on screen.
come in.
The front door
Is locked. The front door
Oh,
is
the
locked.
front door is locked.
Ouch.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
So these are on all the time, allegedly.
Wait, I got my key.
That thing on, that TV was, all part of the Chuck Berry wire, and that's where all.
Yeah, we did.
So these
Sides
people
were
are,
open and
good. There's no off and on switch.
I could have used my old the stethoscope on the window,
No.
brick, you know.
Brick works just as
I
good.
had to, I guess.
Brick works just as good, come get on our day. Can you folks out there, can you hear us? I mean, through the PA system?
I don't hear anything through the PA system, do you? Speak right into it.
It only goes so far.
That's part of the.
Say that. I hear you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's coming through the PA. It's just
Okay.
you.
Well, evidently it's not coming through.
And if you, Jim, if you press that button, we still hear you.
The button, there's a light on here, it's supposed to indicate that it's on, and they say it's not on. They say they can't.
That's what Chuck told me.
Okay. We'll just have to screen it.
Everybody's had such a hard time hearing you most of the time anyways.
What?
I'm the one they have a hard time hearing. I feel like I'm telling.
I didn't hear any of your stories.
I just forget to make that.
You can tell them to me again.
Okay.
No, that's all right.
All right, now. Brian, you got your school board meeting.
Yeah, that's.
Sheila got forward there. She said, well, this is making sure.
We've got 5 minutes.
Middle of last week. Didn't working on her house.
You still have the list.
But I,
You
she
have a list
said
of
that you guys
each,
are probably gonna come.
The list that looks like a bill list that we get that you sent us in November for the budget. What's that called?
Good job, right?
What do you call it? Yeah, is that what it is? It looks like the bill list that gives the expenditures from each department. That's what it is. No, well,
You're looking for the monthly printout that shows there.
no. I'm looking for the printout that he sent us in the November meeting. I guess this is it. Yeah, this is it, I guess. General fund revenues and expenditures, 2013.
Jim,
What?
this one?
I don't know.
That's the same thing we have. It's the same thing we have.
Okay. No, this isn't it either. Well, let me look. This is,
You're looking for the computer generated one?
that's what it is, yeah.
Did everyone here sign?
Jim.
I can't see that.
I was just, somebody did sign, because I'm counting, it, it's not coming out. Hold on, I'll get you a clipboard. Stephen?
Can I use this for a second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, the first order of business tonight's a public hearing for the 2013 budget for the city of Franklin. Are there any citizens in the audience that would like to address council concerning the budget, proposed budget? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing and call a regular council meeting to order. We'll call for this.
Mrs. Fletcher. Absent. Ms. Horn?
Here.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Marshall?
I'm here.
Mr. Rudiger?
Here.
Mr. Wood? Here. Mayor Baker?
Here. Adoption of the agenda.
I'll make the motion that we approve the agenda, if there are no additions or corrections.
I'll second. Appreciate it.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. A motion and a second, all in favor?
Watch the wire.
Okay.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You know, the deep goes on that. Yeah.
Okay, if you want to show that she's about.
Should I show her for the previous vote or
Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting November 5th, 2012.
If there are no corrections, move that we be accepted as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any discussion?
1 second.
Yes, sir.
On the adjournment, there's no, on the last page, number 3, there's no time limit. I'm not sure if that makes a think it means that I did read them.
About 8:41. The executive session ended at
8:41 sounds good to me. Can you folks hear us okay?
8.
We can hear you, but no one else.
Well, I'm not shy. And I'm not right all the time either, though I think I am most of the time, but evidently.
Okay, we have one correction. Anybody wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the correction.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Pay the bills.
I'll move to pay the bills as presented if we got the money.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Citizens inquiries, are there any citizens in the audience that would like to address council on something that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, we move on to certificates of appropriateness.
Two of them for this evening. First, 1282 Liberty Street, the request that was recommended by CARD for approval was the unlit sign. You want to take these independently?
Yes.
Yes.
And we got our approval on that.
For that one.
If there are no objections, I'm move that we accept the hard recommendation for 1282 Liberty Street.
Discussion? They mentioned something about two lit signs in windows. Were they gonna remain or?
Is it, those folks are from Liberty?
That's me, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you were asking.
I'm inquiring, it was mentioned about three signs, lit signs in the windows at the present time. They would remain?
We don't have them up right now because we have a Christmas lights and everything that was in there, but we had planned on putting them back up in January once we're open every day. Is there a problem with them? or-
No, sir.
Oh,
I
okay.
just inquired.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Second. Okay, and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The second, will be 1281 Liberty Street, the exterior renovation. This did not carry the recommendation of the HERB for this property.
Is there a representative from 1281 Liberty Street here tonight? I know there's some hard members. Do you guys want to speak on this?
I will just say that all four members of HARD who were present at the meeting agreed that the changes proposed, which were essentially to make 1281 match 1282, which is the old Exchange Bank building, make the brick, cover the brick on 1281 with a stucco-like material and make it match the bank building because Vantage Sleep owns both buildings. But HARB felt that that detracted from the historic district. And although we sympathized with some of the aspects where the owners of the building of 1281, there is some deterioration in the wooden structure underneath the big plate glass windows. And they want to replace those, and we didn't have any objections to their plans specifically for that or some of their other plans, but we strongly objected to placing the stucco over top of the brick and the bottom of the bay windows to make it look like the bank.
Thank you.
Well, it would be two different colors then, wouldn't it? If they wanted the stucco, would it be two different colors? Because it's not, is it gonna be the same color in the back, but it's a
Yes,
different?
it would be, and my understanding is that it would be the same color as the bank, because
But
the
it
whole
would be
point
two
was.
different, I don't know what to, like textures.
Well, it's supposed to mimic the cement or stone of a bank.
Okay.
The material was, according to the contractor who was there, he said it would mimic the bank.
Did they say whether, why after this period of time they wanted to have that done?
Mostly because they are trying to minimize
Expenses.
maintenance on the building. You know,
Oh.
they're willing to spend the money to get it fixed, but they're trying to do things to the building to make it, if they repair the wood or replace the wood that's below the plate glass windows, that means the windows have to come out and other things need to be done. And as you can see from the pictures that they included
Yes.
of their current building, there is deterioration of a lot of the trim, the cornice at the top,
Yes.
around the windows and things. So they just thought, while they were replacing those things or repainting them, they thought they would go through this extra trouble to make, since it's one business, from their point of view, from a business identity, it may make sense to make it look like the bank building. And their contractor felt like putting that material on the front would make it maintenance-free. David Strickland, the architect on Harvest, agreed. He said that material does decompose and would not, and he also asserted that it would not match the stone no matter what they did. The contractor said it would, the architect said it wouldn't. But everybody on Harv agreed that it just was, the brick building is a historic building and looks nice as it is, does need some maintenance,
Yes, it does.
but not to make it match the bank building.
No, I agree with you.
Did they give any indication that they wanted to go ahead with repair of the cornices or anything else? That it just pretty much, since they didn't get approval for anything, they were just at a standstill?
Well, my understanding is that the owner was not present. He sent the contractor and someone else. And Chuck Gibbons let them know that they had the option to come to this meeting to appeal Hart's decision. And they also had the option to come back to Hart with a different plan, which it looks like they are opting to do. I mean, we did let them know we didn't mind some of the other things that they wanted to do to fix the exterior. It was the stucco that was the problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I kind of, go ahead. Oh, I thought you were, okay. I kind of like the way it is now, and I'd like to see it remain the same. It does, yes, it does need some fixing up. And I'm sure if they don't do it, Mr. Gibbons will see that it's done. I think we ought to take the recommendation of the hard board in either. Those are. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we continue with Harb's recommendation that they do not get a certificate of appropriateness. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we. No, you just looked like you were heavily focused on something. Like,
Oh, no, no,
maybe
no, no.
you missed something.
I was looking just so you know, insane. No, thank you.
Well, he does have one of those eyes that go in each direction, so he could be looking at both at the same time.
Let's see, where are we at? Presentation by Mr. Hobbs.
Oh, already? I didn't expect to be up this soon. Well, everybody, go ahead and set this up. I'll sit here, my new toy. I'm not quite as good at this as I will be. Unfortunately, my granddaughter, who helps me with all my technical stuff, is in first year of school. She's in surgery, so I don't have any assistance. I'll get this up and come up pretty soon.
Try and get some of those lights out here.
Oh, that's great. All right. Now, I'm gonna have to move this around a little bit because I have to.
Whoa.
Now, this is where I really need my granddaughter because she could come and set this up. It wouldn't be. Adam. Okay. All right. Good to see you all again. This will give you all a summary of where we are in the project and where we think we should be headed next. We began this project about a year ago, and we were negotiating with Sting, Last Mile Communications, to become our project partner. And we decided, for a lot of reasons, that what we should do is we should take a step back and let an RFP to determine who the project partner should be. That was part 2 of the RFP, and part 1 of the RFP was for the 3,000-foot outside plant construction. And I've got some charts and drawings in here to show you what that is. So there were 2 parts to the RFP. The RFP was filed on September the 10th of 2012, and a response was received on October the 15th. We'll take the easy part first, which is part 2. This is the telecom partner. Now, you all recall that the telecom partner would be the telecommunications company, the company that is licensed by the Public Utility Commission, that would basically manage this circuit for us. And that involves the provisioning of the circuitry on it, provisioning of the individual circuits, all the installations, the managing and the monitoring of it, the billing and collecting. This was all set forth in the RFP, and we only had one response. It was Sting. Sting was the only one that responded. And their response was exactly the same as what we had been negotiating with them up to the time that we decided to step back and do the RFP. So basically, they have agreed that they will interconnect their statewide network at 150 Prospect. The revenue split will be 70-30, 70% for the city, 30% for Sting, for any circuits that are sold on that circuit. And that, as you all recall, is the circuit from Franklin to the city of Chicago. And they will manage the 10 gigabit circuit. They'll provide the provisioning, the installing, the managing and the monitoring, all the billing and collecting, everything that we had done. Contract discussions are currently underway, and there are no changes in the original discussions. I have submitted a contract. Brian drafted a contract that he wanted us to form, which it has been modified to fit this particular contract, and I submitted it to Sting. I have not got it back from them yet. They've had they're up to their eyes. They're now in the last stages of their Chapter 11 proceeding. They expect to be discharged from Chapter 11. And last week and the week before, when I was trying to get in front of them, was a fire drill to get all this stuff up to the bankruptcy. And so, but they have the contract, and I fully expect, and I spoke to Bob Rowland coming out here this morning, fully expect to have that back this month, and it'll be submitted back to you all, to Brian, to your solicitor, so you can review all that. That's part 2. So the telecom partner piece of this thing has been decided. I submit to you, you can award that contract. Part 1 of the contract is where we had some surprises. is the 3,000 foot, about roughly 3,000 foot build from where the Neats circuit comes in down there by the firehouse, across the river, and then up, I guess that's 13th Street, and then looping around up in there. Now there's where the pop is. We used James Way Construction to survey this for us. They did an engineering survey. I also used them to give me some idea of what the price of this would be. The general rule of thumb is it's about $45,000 a mile to build outside plant telecommunications. And that includes pole permitting and make ready and all the construction piece. So what we did here was we backed the engineering out. We paid for the engineering individually. And we backed the make ready out because we figured it would be, Sting, the make ready's out of this. So the contract we let for was only for just the outside plant construction effort. Now what they would have to do, that would mean they would have to buy the fiber, and they would have to hire the crews to come out and install it. We further shortened this by making an agreement with Sting. Sting's fiber, Sting is presently at One Dale, which sits over here roughly. And they now serve Ficta, which that's the Ficta's in here somewhere, right in there. So all of this fiber coming down here is all Sting's fiber, and it's on the pole. So we made an agreement with Sting where Sting would allow us to overlash on their fiber, which reduces the cost even more of construction, because now you don't have to have the guys up there actually physically attaching it to the poles. Now all you do is you just lash it over the existing fiber that's there. Now in order to do that, we had to secure the permission of Penelec. All these poles here are all Penelec poles. We surveyed them, and they're all sturdy-looking poles, and there's not a lot of infrastructure on these poles. But Penelec wanted us, before, if you read Sting has a pole attachment agreement with Penelec where Sting can attach to the poles. In order for us to overlash Sting has to give us permission, and Penelec has to give Sting permission. So, in order for Penelec to give Sting the permission, Penelec wanted us to conduct a stress test on these poles, and which we were prepared to do. It was about $170 a pole, and we estimated it would be about a $5,000. There was 27 poles in there, I didn't count them, but we got about a $5,000 fee to get the stress test complete, to get Penelec's permission to Sting so we could overlash. And we were all prepared to do that. So we were looking. We bid when we bid this. We estimated about $35,000 to bid this. Part one, the outside plant came back. We had 6 inquiries when it came out. We had 2 responses, USA Choice and Western PA Internet. The budget amount was $34,000. There were 1,700 of the 3,000 feet, 1,700 feet of it are overlash. So you understand that's less than the full construction, but the overlash. And we estimated $25,000, not included in the $34,000, was the $25,000 that we estimated for the make ready for those poles that we didn't have to. Okay, so now understand all that. Now the 2 bids, USA bid $66,000, Western PA Internet was $120,000. So that was a surprise, not a pleasant surprise, but a surprise. So the first question is, why was it so high? Why are these bids so high? The next slide I'll show you is this here. We have 770 feet of underground that's up by the former hospital, and I'll show this to you in the next slide. The USA Choice. I asked both companies, specifically, what was it about this bid? USA Choice wouldn't go through piece by piece. I wanted to break it down piece by piece what they wanted. They wouldn't go through it. Arguably, their response was, look, if we do that, we're going to give away some secret stuff, and we don't want to do that. If you award the contract to us, then we'll go over that with you. Which it's not. It does sound a little crazy, but that's really when they'll sharpen the pencil. But So anyway, I said, well, all right, look, what was it about this thing that made it so high? And he told me it was the underground. And he said, I said, let's suppose we take the underground out. And let's suppose we put poles in there and just make it aerial. He said, well, then we would take $15,000 over bid. The lady from Western PA Internet was a lot more forthcoming. She said her bid, she added $50,000 to her bid. Now, her bid, she proposed a completely different design, which was based on stuff that later turned out to be not founded. She claimed that needs would not allow us to build it the way we wanted to build it. That's not true, and I verified that. So I don't know where she got that information, but anyway, that was where she got that information. But she said, and both of them said, look, this underground, let me show you this. This is what the underground looks like. This is the last pole. Going back to the network comes up like this, down here. This is the pole here. Where Sting's network, Sting's and USA's network is on this pole here. Now what it does is it goes to this side and then goes down here to the courthouse. So for them to come into our POP, we have to build from here, up, and then at this point here, now we go underground to here, we go in the POP, and then because Sting's coming on the network, they have to have a path in and a path out. They have to have this redundancy. So now we come out on the other side, and now we come down this path here, and we dig down here to this point here, which is directly across the street from the pole that they're on. We put our own pole there. We come out of the underground. We come up on that pole there, on that riser, come across the street, and we hook up with Sting again, and now we're off. Sting is off, and actually it's USA, but it's all Sting and USA's fiber at this point. From this point on, they go on down to serve the county. So this is your 660 feet of underground, and basically what both of those companies did was they just added a factor in there for anything that they thought they could find or they might find. Because this was a hospital, and they didn't really know how it was demolished, they figured, well, they'd get digging in there and they'd find foundation. They didn't know what they'd find. Some say they may find medical waste, and once you find something like that, you uncover it, you own it, and everything stops. And so they had to build all this in there. So that's one of the reasons why the bids are high. I think, and I've talked to some other people, and I've talked to some other people, I still think the bids are too high anyway. But anyway, that's the given reason why the bids are so high. Okay, so what are the options that we have here now? We're going part two and then part one. Part two, it would be my suggestion that we award Sting the contract and execute the telecom partner piece of this contract. Get that nailed down. Part one, we're going to have to make a decision, and we've got some options. The first option, I would recommend that we reject the OSP bids. We can replace the underground with aerial and relet the bid. So where we had this piece here, where instead of having all that underground, you can just stick some poles in there. That's one thing you could do. The second thing you could do is you could have the city construct the underground and relet the bid. This was something that we talked about as this project unfolded. The specifications, and I'm going to get to this in another colleague of mine that I worked with in my telecom days, the guy by the name of Scott Oates, works for Advanced Fiber Technologies, a company in Lebanon. I got him to send me the specifications for all this stuff that you have to do. The trench has got to be basically 12 inches wide, 36 inches deep. There's got to be fill on top of it, and there's handholds. I've got all those specifications. I've passed them on to the city. Scott has volunteered to come out and help if the city decides to do this. He'll come out and talk to whoever it is that's doing it and help them make sure that it's done okay. So that's the second option. You could say take the underground out. We're going to now relet the bid, do the same way we're going to do it, build it all the way up, over Lashno. And the third option, and this is something that's a little not quite out of the box, but is to expand Part 2 of the contract to include connectivity from the POP to Ficton. Okay? Now, remember what I told you, let me go back to this diagram here. Sting is now at One Dale, and Sting serves Ficton. So Sting is, Sting is in here right now. So Sting has fiber that goes all the way up here and all the way down like that. So one of the things that we could do is we could say, we'll build from here to this pole here, which is where Sting goes into Ficton. Jump on that pole, go into Ficton. Now we're going to have to put some electronics in Ficton, and we're going to have to put some electronics in at the POP to accommodate this. But by doing this, we would then eliminate this part of the build entirely. We would still have to build from up here on in, but we would eliminate a piece of that. One of the other things that I have been talking to the folks at Sting about is what all this would entail, how we would do this. Conceptually, it can be done. Conceptually, they'll do it. I don't have, at this point, I don't have what the price of this would be. Now, don't forget, we have conduit under the bridge, so I don't know what this would be to get it to here, and I don't know what this would be to get it up here, and we still have to do this underground. But that's the third option. So what we have, all right, now, if we decide to re-let the bids, we're going to re-let the bids, we're going to go out, we're going to build this whole thing ourselves. Again, you would either replace it with the aerial or build the underground, and we'd have to do this $5,000 First Energy survey. If we decided to do that, I would be much more aggressive in the distribution of this RFP. This fellow, Scott Neff, is a fellow who came out to meet us, who responded to our bid. He's from Zito Communications. Zito's out of Souder, out of Coudersport. And he was very interested in, and Zito is building network in this area. They're building network in northwest Pennsylvania and eastern Ohio. Zito received $6 million of ARA stimulus money, and that money was to build network in Ohio, but money is fungible, so now they've got some money. And so they're building, and their network calls for them to build down part of their northwest ring, would build down from Franklin, or from Coudersport down into Royal City, down into Franklin. And he's very interested, Scott Neff is very interested in our POP here, and we talked about this whole thing, and for a while I thought he was going to bid on the OSP thing and on the partnership deal. He didn't. So I called him and I said, what happened? Why didn't you do it? He said, well, we didn't bid on the partnership thing because that's not what we do. We're not interested in doing that. We are interested in coming to Franklin. We are interested in getting in your POP. And we didn't bid on the OSP piece because we don't do that. What we do is we hire OSP companies. We get their bid and then we add a piece on it for us, and that's what we give you. So rather than add my piece on, I just didn't figure I'd do that. So I talked to him and I told him about what happened here, and I said, look, if we decide to re-let this, I'd like to call on you and see if you can't lead us to some of these companies so we can solicit them. No problem. That's no problem. Scott Oaks is the fellow that I told you about, the guy that I worked with at NextLink. Now this is in Lebanon. Scott looked at this bid. Scott said, look, this is a little too far afield for me. It's actually too small a job for me to come out here. I'd have to put guys up in hotels, and so I really couldn't help you. I'll help you any way I can, and if I can, call around out here and find out some guys that are doing this, I'll help you. So if we decide to re-let it, we should adopt a much more aggressive. And frankly, we would have done this the first time, except when we got these 6 responses, I figured, oh, great, this is pretty good. 6 is a pretty good number. And there were questions. We got questions from them. It looked like we were going to get some play on it, but we didn't. Now here's the interesting thing. This is the one-off deal. If we expand the telecom partner agreement, what we need to do is we need to estimate the outside plant build from the Neats pole to Ficta. That would be the first piece of it. We would have to do, this is the underground piece from, I got the pole and the pop, that's those two, one going in on one side, one going in on the other. That's the stuff up by the top. We would execute with Sting, we would execute an IRU, an indefeasible right of use, for the fibers that we have, we will take in their sheath. In a perfect world, that would include, or that would call for a monthly recurring expense for those two pops. I've talked to them about that. We're not going to have to pay any money for this. We'll be able to trade something off of this. We'll either give them some fibers in our sheet, or we'll give them some of the bandwidth on that circuit. So we're not going to have to pay them. But in a perfect world, if it were somebody other than them. Now, for the electronics in this, you're going to need $8,000 of additional electronics. You're going to need a $4,000 unit at Ficta and a $4,000 unit up at the POP. And we estimate, and this is a very, very high number, but I put it in there. This is $3,500 for additional splicing. You're going to have to splice fibers. You have to splice the Neats fibers into the two fibers on the sheath, and then take them up to the pop. This number here, this $11,500 would eliminate some, but not all, of the $34,000 OSP cost. You'd have to figure out these other two in here to get the true apples to apples comparison. And we'll have all this stuff. We'll have all this stuff by the end of this month. We'll have ballparks on these for you, so we'll have some idea what that looks like. So now this goes back to I got another slide that'll make some more sense out of this when I come up with it. This goes back to what we've got to do yet and what the telecom partner agreement is going to entail. The POP, in the POP we have an additional $13,000 and $6 worth of inside construction, walls to do. I'll show you, I have a diagram of what the POP is going to look like. What it was a whole bunch of doctor's offices on the bottom. We cleared all of that out. Right now, if you go up there, it's just 4 walls and everything hanging from the ceilings. The air conditioning to put in just the telecom side is $25,000, and I'll show you on the thing where that came from. We had when we first looked at it, there were air conditioning units in the ceiling. We thought we could use them, but we can't. So, but I'll show you where that comes from. Now, when we get into the next slide, you'll see where these numbers are relevant. What we have to provide when our fiber comes out of our fiber comes out, and then it goes into Sting's network, we need this much equipment. We need this network bracket closures, the batteries. These are the Lucent switches and the DC power. And I didn't total that, but I'll total that. So to build out the POP room now, we're looking at this number here. This is what the layout looks like. This is what the POP room layout looks like. And just one small change. We're not going to put this office in here. Where the fiber is going to come in here, and it's going to go out over there. This is where this side is going to be telecom, and this side is going to be data storage. You break it out because data storage requires much more cooling than telecom. The telecom gear doesn't get as hot as the data stuff. And when we looked at the data stuff, when you see in the next thing, each one of these things, if you've seen these data centers, they're these cages, and they look like stereo systems that are in there, and you go in the back of them, there's gazillion wires. They're all in cages, and they're all in rows, and everything comes in from the ceiling. And what they ordinarily do is they ordinarily cool the whole room. Well, there are racks. You can buy racks now that are self-contained, that have the cooling contained in them. And that's a much more, it's like do you want to buy a gallon of ice cream or do you want to buy an ice cream cone? It's a little bit more expensive to buy them that way. But if you're selling it, and the way we're going to sell this is onesie-twosie, rather than cool the whole place, we can sell one of these racks rack per rack, and somebody might not buy a whole rack. A company that might want to store off-site data might want to buy half a rack or rack space. So instead of cooling this whole room, we'll just cool it rack at a time. And then on this side, we're going to put the telecom stuff. So Sting will go in here. Hopefully Zito will go in here. This is all your telecom stuff. All your network stuff will go in here. And then the data storage is on that side. This is about 2,000 square feet. It's on the bottom. All right, now this is the, I totaled them up here. This is what our original budget was when we first did this project. Site prep was $29,000. Right now, we will spend $26,500. And that'll get our site ready. This is phase 2. Phase 2 is the data stuff. That phase 2 is going on the data side. We're not going to do any phase 2 now because we're going to wait till we sell it. We're going to do that as we sell it. Understand when you get these networks in here, one of the things you say to the network, one of the things you say to Sting is, you have customers that would think about storing their data off-site. So Sting can then sell an off-site data package to their customers to store the data. So we would offer Sting storage space in our POP, as we would with Zito, as we would with Salzgiver, as we would with anybody else who comes in there, any other carriers who can get in there. So you have to have a backup generator. We were estimated that. And then this is the per unit number. Each one of these units, each one of these cages, they look like ice refrigerators, you know. Each of them, that's a $10,000 pop. So as we would sell them, we would put one in. Now, the network engineering was $14,000, which is what we spent. That was Jamesway did that. And Jamesway also was going to bid on this thing. Jim Dial is the head of Jamesway. After he did this, he's had a heart attack, and so he's sort of out of the picture, which is another reason it's I sort of figured that he would bid on this thing, and so. But anyway, this is the construction number that we bid. We estimated $34,000, and this is the make-ready thing that we estimated. So we haven't spent either one of these yet. This is that. Now, you'll see in Franklin, we estimated when we first did this, we estimated we were going to spend $47,522. It looks like that number is going to come in at $25,484. So we're going to pick up something there. The Chicago piece should mirror that. It should be a mirror of that. So these numbers were estimated a little high. So while we were surprised here, unpleasantly surprised, down here we are pleasantly surprised. We have lost a couple of months because of our decision to let the RFP, but a pound of prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And there were many reasons why everybody felt it was a good idea to let this RFP clear the air, to take away from someone who said, you didn't ask me if I wanted to do it, and we could have avoided all that. So while we lost some time, we picked that up. Now, let's talk about some timelines. Assuming that we move forward, we should complete the telecom partner agreement in December. That should be completed. We could, if we go ahead and complete this is the inside site construction. That could be completed by the end of January. If we decide to let the OSP, if we decide to issue another RFP, our goal should be to try and get that out in December, and that may be a little optimistic. We should back that up probably in January, but it's going to all catch up here. So if then you do that, then you got the RFP return, the outside plant construction starts, and the project's completed on the second quarter of 2013, toward the early third quarter. That's also a realistic, that timeline, this number here, this is a realistic timeline for expanding the telecom, expanding part 2 of the telecom agreement to utilize Sting's fiber to move up to that and not rebuild that whole thing. as I said, this is all, these are, this number here, I think is a pretty good number. I think we can live with that. These numbers in here will vary depending on what we decide to do. And now we're back in outer space again. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'll maybe that in case somebody wants to ask some questions about it.
Let me say something, Steve.
Start us off.
Abe, if I understand you correct, then some additional discussions are necessary before we formally award the RFP?
Yes, I would say that, yes.
Okay, so that action may be in January?
Okay.
Okay. And then, folks, my recommendation would be to reject and rebid. I'm sorry?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I've spoken with our crews, the city crews. I feel that we could and should do that, especially for the prices, that we've been looking at here. It's not something that we have to start today and finish tomorrow, we can work at it incrementally. And I think we can save a ton of money by doing so. It's all across city property. So I just think it makes a great deal of sense to do that. So my recommendation would be to reject the existing and to rebid, making sure that we have at least that option in there for the city doing that piece of the work. And I guess the other direction that we might need is the piece going over to fix it. That would need to be included in the new RFP
Yes.
also.
Yes. So you need, what you need would be this little piece here, from here up to here, wherever this pole is. I think it's that pole right there. It's the first pole, as soon as you come out, as soon as you come right out, it's right out front of the PNC building, or the old PNC site, and you get into where FICTA is. And then from up here, where we come off of this, you just have to come over here and build this here. Once you get it to here, then of course the city's going to be doing it. So we need this piece and this piece. Just get those numbers.
Hey, do we need to, have council at least say they want to be a partner with Sting, or have Sting be the partner, and then we can work out the fine details and approve the actual
Well, yes,
agreement at the beginning?
I would say, because we bid it in two sections, I think it would be proper to award the telecom partner piece of it, the actual managing of the circuit, and we can draft that agreement. And then, if we decide to expand that, we expand it, we let an RFP, or we can do that. But I think you could, at this point, make Sting your telecom partner. And then the agreement is yet to be completely finalized, and we could do that.
Do we want to finalize the agreement first?
Probably not. Probably not. We probably want to, I don't know. I'd have to take some guidance from somebody else as to how exactly that should be done. But I like the idea. The thing that kind of moved us off was the notion that there were other telecom companies indicated that they wanted to be a telecom partner. We asked them, we bid it, there were no other bids. I'd like to close that piece of it out. Now, to get in on the OSP piece of it, we're going to have to do some building for those two pieces there to just utilize Sting just to ride in their fiber. We could just add that to the telecom partner agreement, I would think.
I would recommend if you want to award the RFP for the telecom partner tonight, you can go ahead and do that, subject to us finalizing the terms of the agreement with Sting. If there's anything major other than what was discussed on the slide at 7:30, that type of stuff, we can bring that back to you if not. But that's why I would recommend you tonight on Blaine's recommendation, and we can get that wrapped up.
Yeah, that's what, I'd like to put that,
So the motion would be to approve the award of the bid, the execution of the necessary documents by city officials. The RFPs.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Well said.
Excuse me, when did you say that would be finalized? You were just saying January, or?
He said he wants it done this month, so we'll be done this month.
you'll have it in January.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Okay.
We had already done the draft of the agreement, essentially it was filling in numbers, so
Right.
that's all we need to do.
Okay,
So, and it shouldn't be too hard.
okay.
Okay,
Do we have a second on that?
We have a motion and a second.
Yes, yes.
You got it? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Second part.
Or you want to reject the, you want to,
We want a motion to reject the RFP on the, what's it called?
outside plant building, OSB building.
I'll make that.
You got that, okay, cool.
Sure. I'll wing it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ed, appreciate it.
Okay, number 9, final reading of bill number 3, the budget.
This is an ordinance making appropriations for municipal purposes for the city of Franklin, Pennsylvania for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2013 and ending the last day of December 2013. So Mayor, that's all we can do is add it.
What's your wishes?
I'd like to ask a couple of questions, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Please.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gabies, it was passed on the first reading, 0.6 mils. What's it gonna do, how are we gonna get down to 0.1? What's it gonna take?
Well, if you review some of the options that I gave you, and the values assigned to that, you can whittle that away to do so.
Okay. Well, none of us like to raise taxes, but it comes down to the point, I suppose we could, for next year, not raise the property tax. But my problem is, and I'm speaking only for myself, that it's gonna be very, very, very close. We don't know what's gonna happen next year. And I feel very comfortable, I don't feel comfortable with 0.6. I feel very comfortable with a 0.1. I think we can do it with a 0.1 and not ward off, I don't want to say ward off any unforeseen circumstances, but I think it's going to give us a very little amount of money to play. I think if we go with no increase, which is good for everybody, and we all own property in the city, we have to pay it just as everybody else does, but it's going to be very, very, very close if something goes wrong. So and this is just my feelings, if we go with a 0.1 mil increase instead of the 0.6, which is pretty good. 0.1 is a lot better than 0.6. But it'll just give us a little wee cushion that if something goes wrong, we're going to have some income to take care of that. And the cutting of, I've been thinking about this for about 2 weeks, and we're going to find out either way. So we give ORA $10,000. if we cut that by 5. Nobody likes to cut, but, and I'll blabber on about this a little bit. If we cut $5,000, and we have the extra money from the customers that are paying us, and we're not going to replace the assistant city engineer. And as the manager said, in number 5, we're going to, due to the increase in calls, we're going to hire 1 extra police officer. No, I don't want to say extra, to replace the one that has resigned and went to the Attorney General's office. So we're going to replace him after the proper testing takes place sometime next year. We have nobody on the list, right, that you're aware of? Nobody on the current list for police officers?
They're nearly complete with the new eligibility list.
Oh, they are? Okay. So I guess, and Mr. Spade, please guide me if I'm going to make a mistake here. I guess what I'm suggesting that we approve the 2013 budget instead of a 0.6 mil, approve it at a 0.1 mil. I'd like to have none, but I don't feel comfortable with doing that. 0.1, I can live with myself.
I agree with what you're saying, Jim, and the reason I voted no last time, because I didn't think we needed to fill that position, but since the position's not going to be filled,
What position?
the assistant to city
Oh,
engineer.
Okay. No, it's not.
Do we have to amend
Yes.
individual budgets?
What you would need to do, bill number 3, is to amend under general government. Development.
Right here.
You're so organized, Jim.
I'm sure glad I got somebody to help me out. Thanks, appreciate it. I don't have enough room here, go ahead. Where are we looking at, Mr. Gabriel? Okay, general government, okay.
General fund, and it says general government.
Yes,
You would amend bill number 3 from first reading, instead of being $756,560
yes.
to $678,560.
Do we need a motion?
You'd have to amend.
We have to go all the way through? No.
If we were to do other amendments to this, do we have to go one at a time, or would we go through?
If you make large substantial changes, you'd have to do the whole thing. But this would just change the one number. I would think we could just do it by amending that by one number.
That changes that. I don't know. 4,687,510. On that column.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the, bill number 3, general fund, general government, budget from 700,560, or 756,560 to 678,560.
Is that gonna work for us?
That would bring down the expense side of the budget to, still by a shortfall of $15,000. And so that would be equivalent of 0.1 mil.
so the real estate tax for 2013 is going to be 0.1 mils additional, extra.
But you're saying there's still a shortfall if we do that.
No,
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 that'll balance.
That'll balance,
No.
okay.
Pardon me?
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. What was the total, 4 million what?
$4,687,510 under general.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Now, you voted to amend the bill, now you need to vote to approve it.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we approve bill number 3
As
with
amended.
the, as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bill number 4.
This is an ordinance in the city of Franklin, county of Venango, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, fixing the tax rate for all city purposes for the fiscal year 2013.
So we have an emergency.
Okay, so in section 1 then, you need that real estate tax rate for the year 2013 for general purposes, the sum of 9 3/10 mils on each dollar of assessed valuation, or the sum of 93 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation.
I'd like to make a motion to amend Bill 4, Section 1, the real estate tax rate from 9 8/10 mils to 9 3/10 mils. Keep going. On each dollar of assessed valuation, and the sum of 98 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation to 93 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation.
I make a motion that we pass bill number 4 as
Well, we
amended.
have a motion on the floor, so it needs to be seconded.
You may second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend bill number 4, 2012. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Now, Ms. Fletcher.
Now I make a motion that we pass bill number 4 as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's, wasn't as bad as Palmering that I thought it was gonna be.
Bill number 5.
This is an ordinance of the city of Franklin and the county of Venango, and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending ordinance number 2 of 1966 and ordinance number 17 of 1977, levying and imposing and providing for the return, assessment, and collection of an annual tax for the year 1966 and each calendar year thereafter for general revenue purposes on salaries, wages, commissions, bonuses, incentive payments, fees, tips, and other compensation and or net profits earned, paid, and or received, both by a resident of and by any persons employed in and or operating a business, profession, or other activity in the city of Franklin, the county of Venango, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, by fixing the rate for residents effective January 1, 2013 at 1.75% and continuing the effective rate of 1% on non-residents in the city of Franklin.
There would not be any amendments necessary.
I'll make a motion to pass bill number 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
May I proceed with
Hold on one second. Mr. Heller, did you raise your,
May I ask a question?
sure you,
If I may.
yes.
If you recall, last December, I came and asked about transparency of the budget and so forth. It fell on deaf ears, and I expected that. But I expected that come this year, there might be something out to the public saying what's happening more than simply going to get a tax increase. I don't want to compare with Oil City, but I noticed in their paper yesterday, recently, they had 3 or 4 columns showing what's happening, where the money's coming from, where it's going. I think it's ludicrous that the public is not made aware, especially now that you passed the budget. I think you need to say, hey, this is where it goes, this is who gets it. You know, you folks are, this is a business. Mr. Gabriel is the CEO. You folks are the board of directors. We're the stockholders. We don't get anything. A little piece of paper that you're going to increase it. I think it's ludicrous that the public is not made aware. Now, last year I was told, no, they gave it to the press. Now, I don't know if they gave it to the press or not, but it seems to me that the council should say, hey, let the public know what's going on, where the money's going, who gets what. That's only fair. Thank you. I appreciate the job you guys do. You know that. It's not easy. But
Well, don't leave yet, okay?
I'm
Don't
sorry.
leave yet. May I ask a couple of questions, Mayor?
Well, we've got some other business to attend to.
Well, okay. Don't, Jeremy, just stick around, because I want to ask you some questions.
That's fine.
Bill number 6, sorry.
Okay, the bill that's in your packets was amended, and I passed that around. We took a couple of sections out. This deals with the discussion we had last month about creating an appeal process under the shade tree ordinance. This is an ordinance amending the shade tree ordinance, the codified ordinance of the city of Franklin, to provide for a board of appeals. Whereas the council of the city of Franklin finds and declares that certain amendments to the shade tree ordinance are necessary to provide for appeals for decisions rendered by the shade tree commission of the city of Franklin or its designee. Be ordained and enacted by the council of the city of Franklin, Pennsylvania, and it is hereby ordained and enacted by the authority of the same section 1. Section 167 of the codified ordinance of the city of Franklin, Virginia is hereby amended, such that the current section 167.10 is redesignated as section 167.99, and a new section 167.10 is added as follows. 167.10 appeals. A, any person directly affected by a decision of the commission or its authorized designee, or notice or order issued under this ordinance shall have the right to appeal to the city council, provided that a written application for appeal is filed within 20 days after the date the decision, notice, or order was served. An application for appeal shall be in writing and shall be filed with the city manager. An application for appeal shall be based on a claim that the true intent of this ordinance and the rules legally adopted hereunder have been incorrectly interpreted, the provisions of this ordinance do not fully apply, or the requirements of this ordinance are adequately satisfied by other means. B, the city council shall meet to hear the appeal within 45 days of the date of the filing of an appeal, and shall render its decision within 30 days of the date of the hearing. C, the decision of the city council shall be in writing. Copies of the decision shall be forwarded to the appellant and the commission or its authorized designee by United States First Class Mail or email. D, any person, whether or not a previous party of the appeal, shall have the right to apply to the Court of Common Pleas of Venango County, Pennsylvania for further review of the decision rendered on appeal within 20 days of the date of the matter of the decision by the city council. E, appeals of notices or orders other than in emergency situations shall stay in force of the notice of order until the appeal is heard by the city council. Section 2, all other sections and provisions of the codified ordinances of the city of Franklin, the amendments and supplements thereto, not inconsistent herewith, are hereby reenacted and reordained. Section 3, this ordinance shall become effective on the earliest date permitted by law, following final enactment.
Questions? Thank you. If the city is paying for the tree, which we are, do we know who puts them in?
Well, the ones that were recently put in, we do, but, you know, there's so many oak trees in town,
Okay, within the last year.
certainly,
Who puts them in? Do we know?
generally the shade tree.
Does somebody from the Shade Tree Commission actually dig the hole?
Oh, no. They purchase the trees and then they purchase the service to plant the trees.
Okay, well, I guess, and this has concerned me over a small period of time. If we're paying for the trees, and if we're paying for the service to put them in, if the Shade Tree Commission says no to our tree, I guess it's basically our tree because we paid for it and we put it in. They're saying they're saying no to our tree. You know what, you get where I'm coming here?
No to do what to our
To trim it, cut it down, or whatever. The property owner wants it taken down or trimmed or whatever. It's not the property owner's tree, it's our tree. The city of Franklin's tree, the city council's tree.
We own the trees that are in between the sidewalk
Is
and
this,
the street.
is this where this is at, in the
Yes.
right way?
Yes, sir.
So it's our tree.
Correct. The ordinance provides that the homeowner is to, take care of the tree, but generally.
Then it's our tree.
Correct.
So why should they be penalized for taking care of our tree?
What do you mean by penalized?
Well, I mean, they can't take it down. They can't, they can't trim or take down our tree.
They're not allowed to by law. That's what our law says, our ordinance, unless they file that.
Really, I just don't understand. What if they bought a tree, personally? They went out to the nursery and bought a tree and stuck it in our right of way.
They're
Can
not
they
allowed
do
to
that?
do that. No, they have to get a permit from the commission first to get permission to plant that particular tree in the right of way.
Go ahead.
To follow what Jim's saying, they would also then have to request a permit to remove that tree.
Correct.
Same scenario. What gave rise to this is someone wanted to have a tree removed, and the Shade Tree Commission did not feel it should be. The person asked for an appeal. Who can appeal this decision?
They come to us because it's our tree. They could have come to us without this ordinance because it's our tree.
But that, the Shade Tree Commission had sole control and authority over that. This was to alleviate that, in a sense, and anybody that felt aggrieved by any decision.
If it was up to me, I would cancel out the Shade Tree Commission, and if it's our tree, we ought to be taken care of. We should be trimming it, whatever, because nobody else is.
Well, I would invite, no, I'm not trying to be
I
smart. I would invite you
understand.
to attend some of their meetings, because it involves a lot more than just trimming trees.
Well, again, if they plant trees where they don't need to. They just planted one a week ago Saturday, that there hasn't been one there since December 1st of 1967, and somebody come up with an idea and says, God, I found a place in town that doesn't have a tree, let's put one in. Do we need help? Excuse me, no. No. If it's our tree and our money, we ought to be taking care of that tree. Not the property owner, that's not his tree. It's our tree.
That's the ordinance we passed.
I know. No, I didn't pass it.
Question, if I may.
We're not to be taking questions from the audience unless you allow that through your public participation. Otherwise, you're going to have a meeting go out of control completely, Mr. Baker. That's your decision.
We'll get to you.
That's all, that's all. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
So what we're trying to accomplish here is to provide people an avenue of appealing the decision of the Shade Tree Commission,
Right.
which was absent from the ordinance.
Make a motion, we pass bill number 6 as read.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Roll call, please.
Ms. White? Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Now, Dara, my no vote is, we should be paying for it because it's our tree.
Mr. Rudiger?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mrs. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Brady Park request.
There was one in the packet, but after the packets were delivered, the applicant withdrew the request. So we have notice.
Second.
Mrs. Swett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Also like to make a motion to reappoint Vince Mither up to the 54th.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And make a motion to reappoint Pamela Sibley, Watson Sibley, to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You don't talk to Mr. Ackley, then, so I have to. I believe that's all I have tonight, so we'll go to the council. Mr. Wood?
I do not have anything this evening.
Mr. Rudiger?
I have nothing to see.
James Marshall?
How much time we got? I'll make this kind of short. I don't know if Mr. Heller's coming back or not. Do you know if he's coming back?
No, he's not.
Well, I'd say it whether he's here or not here. Just briefly, I have the utmost respect for Bob Heller. And any people here that were here for his last meeting in December, I'm not sure what year that would have been. I don't know. You know when there?
2009, probably, right?
Did you take over in 2010? Okay, so it would be the December meeting in 2010, or 2009, excuse me. And I said, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I said if it wasn't for Bob Heller, I wouldn't be sitting here at that time. And I'm still here. But I owe Bob Heller a lot. However, I remember him being here in December's 2011 meeting asking for some information about the budget. And I just wanted to say that there's, and I have a couple of questions for you too, Jerry. This is a copy of the budget. Well, this is a copy I got from the dairy it appeared in the November 26th newsletter. It's proof of publication, that's what it is. But it's the same thing here that appeared in the newsletter. And the reason I'm not asking for us to put the entire budget line item by line item and expense by expense is this is a 2.5 by 3 2.25 ad. And that ad costs us $268.94. So if we wanted to put, well, I don't think they're all stuff because they're not doing a very good job. If we wanted to put the entire budget in the newspaper at a 2.5 by 2.75 ad, just for that ad, this is what we would be putting in, and we can't afford it.
Well, I would propose to you that actually, I think that Mr. Heller's request might be a bit over the top to ask for every line by line item.
Yes.
That's not going to happen.
No.
However, it would be nice if, moving forward, if there was a little more transparency in so much as I was able to access those or make those decisions myself on what we find, newsworthy or to be in there. I guess part of my thing is I've always kind of wondered why this is what I get from your meetings on every meeting. I get no packets, I get nothing. Now I take notice and when I ask for something, you guys usually give it to me.
Sure.
But, I haven't been included on those packets now. I'm new to this, so whether that's how it's always been, I
Yes.
don't know.
And I'll let you.
But when I went to the Oil City budget, when I go to the Oil City Council, I'll tell you that they gave me a large packet when I went to cover that. I don't cover that on a regular basis, Judy Edsel does. But when Judy's on vacation, being that she's been there 43 years, she accumulates a bit of vacation time.
Sure.
When she's on vacation, I usually fill in on everything that Judy doesn't do when she's not there, so.
I'm that guy that gets.
How about you and Mr. Gravy's work that out? Are we allowed to give that to him?
What, the line item? budget?
No, the packs.
Well, most of the packet is the, the list of bills and things of that nature, where I don't know how much value that's going to be for your journey.
Probably not, but I mean.
But, and from time to time, there's confidential information.
Yeah, absolutely, you can't give that out.
Right. But aside from that, I think Bart's usually the one that provides the copy when it comes around to Jeremy at each meeting.
If you're satisfied what you're getting from council members now, that's okay, but if you want something,
Well, I don't know how much I want to discuss this in a public forum.
no, why don't you give Mr. Gabriel a call and
We can
see
talk.
what he says?
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've actually attempted to come down here and have a discussion, but we haven't had a lot of success with that, so, when.
With Mr. Gabriel?
The last time I talked to Mr. Gabriel, he's working on the budget.
Okay.
He's trying to speak to me, but I've also put in phone calls, and I haven't always gotten responses on the phone calls. I'm not here to point fingers, I'm just saying that, I'm easily accessible. I'm at work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I'm there, I have voicemail. You guys see what's in the paper. If you don't like what's in it, you can tell me, and guess what? It'll change.
Okay.
I mean, I'm here not only as a servant of you guys, but as a servant of the public. And I kind of do what I'm told to do. And that's the way I work on both ends. So I feel like it's more or less, you guys can give me as much as you want in the paper. If you don't want anything in the paper, that's fine too. But then I get calls from people like Mr. Heller who want to know why the heck I didn't have more in there.
Well,
Where is this money going and that kind of thing. Again, I understand where Mr. Gabriel is coming from. I don't think that the line-by-line item is, let's be honest with you, it's tedious. There's no reason, nobody's going to, as a writer, nobody wants to read that anyways.
Okay.
But I think that we should be given an option to look at some of those key points ourselves and make those decisions too.
My question is, from reading his letter to the editor, I get the impression that he wants you to put the whole meeting in the paper. First of all, I don't think you'd want to, I don't think you can, and I don't think your editor would allow you to do that.
No.
Personally, speaking for myself, I think you do a hell of a good job.
Well, the thing I do is I compare the numbers, and as you saw in the last one, I said this is what the budget is now, and this is how much over it was from last year. I think those kind of general numbers give people a roundabout idea. Your budget's moving up about 120,000, which, by the way, I don't think sounds to me like a terrible number, because I don't know a whole lot about finances, but when you're talking about millions of dollars, I see an increase of $100,000 or so to be a pretty typical increase as far as cost of living increases go. Health expenses and whatnot. You guys are doing a heck of a lot better than the school districts, actually.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Those budgets are going up for everybody, so,
Sure. We're trying to work on a system now that the minutes that Darla's preparing will appear on the Franklin websites next month after they're approved by council. As far as I know, that's never been done before.
That's a good story in itself.
And that it should be done. It should be done.
Well, you should definitely contact me when that happens.
Beg your
Because that's always a
pardon?
good way. Please contact me when it happens, because
Okay.
those are the kind of things, Franklin's might be. And, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I think websites are a way for the future. I think people will pay attention to
But
that.
as far as the
That might be a way to do that.
as far as the line-by-line budget for each department, what the expenses are, I don't know if that's going to be on the website. I don't know.
I think what people want to know,
But
and
it
what
will-
I would like
it
to
will
know
be
myself,
available.
is where this money goes in comparison. I mean, how much of it's spent on police, how much of it's spent on, salaries, how much of it's spent on healthcare.
But they're only
I think
going
that's what people
they're
want.
only going to find that in here.
And by the way, no matter what your salary is, people are going to complain.
Sure.
That's just the nature of the beast, and we all.
The complaints that I receive, it's too low. Our salary, it's too low, but I'm not about to increase it. But as far as I know, is that our decision or is that the administration's decision about putting this on the website?
That would just be so overly cumbersome, line by
Well, the
line.
fact of the matter is, the line by, now, correct me if I'm wrong, the line by line item is available to the people who want to inspect it, is that right?
At City Hall.
Notice.
But it's not, it's gonna
That's
be,
where I was a little confused too with Mr. Heller's comments, because I do understand that if I want to come down here and look at it, I can.
but we're not putting the line by line on the website. But,
And I won't be putting it in paper.
if they wanna see what it is, that's fine.
But if you guys see like substantial increases in this or that, I think it's worth mentioning so that
Oh,
people
absolutely.
understand where these tax raises come from.
But I
But
talked,
Mr. Gabris did just that in the last meeting by actually talking about where the shortfall came from. I thought I summed it up pretty well based on what you guys told me. And I don't think that I had any questions at the end of the day about it, so.
but once Darla gets these typed, it will take Mary Ann just a very few minutes. But it's gonna be after, in the January meeting, that these are gonna be approved,
That's fine.
then they'll be on the website. When, I'm not sure, but Mary Ann said it's gonna take her less than 5 minutes
Well,
to
in the
get that
meantime, I'll
on.
be here every month too, so.
But I guess, my point is, some of the things that Mr. Heller said are correct, and some of them are not, and I may be wrong. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 of us are here, well, 7 actually, here when Mr. Heller was mayor. And I may be wrong, but I don't ever remember him asking questions about the budget being available to the public.
I was here for the 2011 budget, actually, and I don't recall that.
So I don't remember, he may have said it, but I do not remember it. I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong in that instance.
And last week, nobody, or I'm sorry, last month, aside from the council, I was the only person that.
So, my point is, some things he's right, and some things he's not right.
You were asking about last year's December meeting?
No, this would have been prior to '09.
Well, he said he asked last year.
Well, he did, but when he was mayor, the point is, when he was mayor, I don't ever remember him asking these questions that he's asking tonight, or in this thing.
You're right, I was there.
And the only other thing I'd say, then I'll shut up, which is here. I would hold this off to our next meeting. I had some questions about the police department, things that they're not doing, which I feel they should be. And I mean, they're minor, but they mean a lot to people around here. I think that's all I had, but I think all the council and their families, and the city employees and their families, and your very, you and your very nice baby, which I saw, what was it, 2 weeks ago up at China. Nice little kid.
I like that.
Good, you better keep,
Yeah.
have a nice holiday. And we can't say Christmas tree, so I hope everybody has a nice holiday. That's all, it's Christmas. It is a Christmas tree. I'm done, so thank you.
Mrs. Fletcher.
Did I say it all?
I'd just like to say kudos to Darla and Mary Ann for the coordination of an extremely wonderful parade, super job. To all the city employees for the coordination to make Light Up Night just a fantastic event it was. Thank you very much.
And thank you for singing happy birthday. It brought a tear to my eye.
Sure did.
Thank you, and I thoroughly agree.
Thank you.
Shows that there, so. Mr. Knight.
I agree with what Dawn said, and I was gonna say the same thing. I know it's a nice job you have,
Yeah, we discussed that.
but you guys do a good job. And I think there was twice as many people there this year than last year. I know the weather was better, nice.
Jen had her eyes open.
Oh, my God.
Is that your first time?
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than this.
I told her wait till July 4th and she has to walk from 8th Street up to 13th.
Maybe I'll let her ride in the car with me.
That's it.
Ms. Horn?
I agree with the Light Up Night, it's a great.
The only thing I would suggest for next year, Darla, and you know how much you mean to me,
Oh, yeah.
is after the light up night, what are you smiling for? Is invite us out at your house for beer and pizza.
Wine and cheese.
Yeah, you don't have to put that in the minutes, though.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Before we go into executive session, Russ, did you want to say something to us?
Yes, on that tree situation, I got myself into a jam a number of years ago. We got this big old maple tree in front of our house, and it was coming in and messing up the electric lines and the eaves and everything, so I had a gentleman up on the hill, who that's his profession, came down and cut a few big limbs off. And I was told, you can't do that. And I said, tough, it's my house, and this tree is disturbing it. Now every year, I have to go out and cut limbs off the bottom, and it bangs up against the eaves of the roof on the porch. If I don't cut the limbs off, kids come along and they jump up and grab the limbs down, and they break them, and then they throw the limbs up on the porch. Now, is it right that I can ask the city to come up and modify and trim that tree? It's your tree. I don't want to hear it, Mr. Gators. I know what you're going to tell me.
No, I'm not. I miss you.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Unless something has changed, to have the tree removed, you're going to need a permit. But to just do some pruning, you do not need a permit. What we've run into, though, I shouldn't say we, what the shade trees run into, is some people, when they come time to prune it, they go overboard, okay? And the tree ends up dying because of that. But short answer is yes, you can prune the tree, your shade tree in front of your house.
I can prune the city's shade tree in front of our property, okay?
Well,
let's forget it. But I just wanted to put a point across that I agree with you, Mr. Marshall. That has to be put out so that people understand a little better that we can prune the tree and not feel in jeopardy that we're going to be targeted.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Donna and
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Grab straight water first.
you're right, you're providing. We're all over here now.
It's going to have to be a small crowd.
I had planning and zoning, like, make sure, I just didn't know how it actually went together.
This is
Yes.
There's another outfit that's called The Screen, a young man who does actually has a small organization called Light Spring Productions. This is in my house. There was about 4 years roughly on the August. And so, I have a lot of contacts. It's still kind of hard to reestablish. So this is the first time I've been down to Franklin.
But I think they do.
And I hope that I get down there with their mom, just my phone number, email, whatever.
You can see I'm not very neat.
However,
Yeah, I should.
watch it. Going back to the interview, watch it on they try to address signs. But that's what
Yeah,
those
when I
old
see it,
signs
yeah.
are like.
Not entirely sure if you remember, I was just wondering, I was trying to get back into it, I wanted to try to get that hobby, the first one I could think of was
You look like you're holding a message. Don't mention lifting anything or anything. What's on me?
That's what I was
Jim told me you were in his class. Oh, he still
My dog.
I'm back to business. This is the church, and you're located here in service lights.
I'm sorry.
I think that's it. I think we all know you're entirely Lord and Savior. What I'm saying is, my talk, like, video, still, I'm just looking for, I just want to try to just talk concrete, that's what happens.
Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I'm only 1/8 Jewish, so I don't celebrate Hanukkah. I'm only Jewish in heritage. I don't know.
Okay.
So,
Get a chance to come on.
just a little bit.
So long.
I'm also a quarter Irish, so I gotta figure. Oh, gee, Captain Jewish.
Slovak, what's that mean? That means I have to follow these numbers.
I'm gonna replace these days, maybe one of these days I'll take your call.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, of course. Oh, does somebody have a copy? I think I got the numbers on that budget. Do you have a copy of that? Does anybody have a copy of the numbers as they stand on that budget?
Tell you what, corrected?
Yeah, I don't want to take the whole pile.
We're actually on the other side.
There's nice filing cabinet right
I'll talk to you
Yeah, I got it
soon.
on.
Nice to see you, Brian. Good to see you too. I'll give you one too.
I'll see you guys later. Thank
I'll
you.
see you later. Thanks.
See, yeah.
Mr. Spade, did you have a good evening Saturday night with me sitting that close to you?
It was interesting. You're interesting at council meetings. We had drinks in you. I was describing.
Actually, I didn't have any drinks in it. The only thing I was drinking that night was soda water and wine.
Okay. I thought it was something else.
Excuse me. It's nice to see you.
You too.